There exist nearly 300 written records from many ancient cultures around the world which strongly support the historical reality of the biblical flood. 95% of these non-biblical documents verify a global flood was exclusively responsible for the destruction of mankind, 66% report the flood was due to man's wickedness, and humans were forewarned about the consequences of their sins, while 88% mention a favored family, 73% note that animals were involved, 70% agree a large boat saved the human race and land animals from extinction, 35% describe birds being released from the ark, and 57% state the boat landed on a mountain following the flood. Interestingly, genealogical records from many early and later post-flood cultures, including the Greeks, Chinese, Romans, Irish Celts, Britons, Anglo-Saxons, Germans, Norwegians, Danes, Icelanders, and others, actually place Noah at the top of their official list as the first prominent man in their ancestral line. For example, ancient Chinese records mention at the top of their human genealogy list Noah with his three sons, Lo Shen, Lo Han, and Japhu, which are obvious references to the biblical Noah and his sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Chinese is one of the earliest known languages, and their word for boat involves several symbols which literally mean eight-person vessel, clearly mirroring the fact that 8 people, including Noah and his family, were on the ark. The Chinese language also preserves many other pre- and post-flood biblical concepts, events, and names from Genesis' early foundational chapters, confirming its historicity. Numerous modern nation, place, and language names still used across the world have direct ties to Noah and his descendants. For example, the approximately 20,000 Ebla cuneiform tablets discovered in 1974 are highly significant since they were produced about 4,300 years ago during the early post-flood civilization era and contain several references to the biblical land of Canaan and the Canaanites, which is especially interesting since Canaan was a son of Ham and grandson of Noah. Many of the ancient towns and regions mentioned in Genesis, including Sidon, Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, Lasha, Hazor, Lachish, Megiddo, Gaza, Sinai, Joppa, and Damascus are all mentioned in these tablets. Genesis chapter 10, which describes division of the so-called Table of Nations, is recognized by eminent archaeologists such as William P. Albright as an astonishingly accurate document, with many of the nations and each of the approximately 70 mentioned separate language groups traceable to our modern day. Bill Cooper, author of After the Flood, which was a compilation of 25 years of research, stated concerning the accuracy of Genesis 10, throughout the entire Table of Nations, whether we talk about the descendants of Shem, Ham, or Japheth, every one of their names is found in the records of the early surrounding nations of the Middle East. Today I can say that the names so far vindicated in the Table of Nations make up over 99% of the list. No other ancient historical document of purely human authorship could be expected to yield such a level of corroboration as that. Based on the significant early and independent extra-biblical information we possess, it's very reasonable to conclude Genesis is an accurate historical document describing the activities of real people. In addition to ark and flood references, some documents, such as the Weld-Blundell prism shown here, contain an outline history of the world written by an ancient scribe named Nur-Ninsubar, who provided a list of the kings that reigned from the beginning of the human race to that time, which was about 200 years after the global flood. 10 kings are listed with extraordinarily long lifespans prior to the flood, while the kings existing after the flood had much shorter lives, which supports a biblical account. The long life of kings before the flood, contrasted with shorter lives following the flood, is easily explained by relatively adverse post-flood climatic conditions, as well as the severe genetic bottleneck that occurred when Earth's population was reduced to 8 people, and additional genetic diffusion following the dispersal of nations from Babel. Interestingly, many vertical ziggurat, temple, mound, and pyramid remnants still exist across the world and provide compelling evidence for an original Tower of Babel model used by migrated people groups. Multiple widespread accounts concerning the division of languages and people of the Tower of Babel, as well as an ice age caused by a global flood and Genesis-like creation event, have also been recovered by archaeologists. All these archaeological records, and more I haven't mentioned, offer very strong independent confirmation for the historical accuracy of the foundational book of Genesis, including its very first chapters. The ark wasn't a small bathtub-shaped vessel, like you may have heard in Sunday school, but was actually a massive 450 feet long by 75 feet wide by 45 feet high triple-deck seaworthy ship with a storage capacity equal to 540 railroad stock cars. This was plenty of space for all the supplies and creatures on the ark, including dinosaurs that existed in about 50 different kinds, whose average adult size was similar to a bison and would have been even smaller as juveniles. According to the Bible, God personally sent only air-breathing land animals and flying creatures onto the ark, while plants, bacteria, fungi, fish, and aquatic animals were excluded. This fact, combined with recent studies in baraminology, have demonstrated that between 2,000 to a maximum of 16,000 creatures, whose average size was equivalent to a rat, were on the ark. So, contrary to skeptical claims, there was plenty of room on this huge ship. Even when conservatively calculating the space that 50,000 sheep would require, only 36% of the ark's capacity would have been necessary. Reasonable solutions have also been given for how Noah and his family were able to build the ark and care for these creatures. Some have also promoted the idea that the biblical flood was local, affecting only the Mesopotamian valley of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, but due to the flood depth, duration, and universal language used in the Bible, flood records from many widespread cultures, as well as the need for a ship-sized ark and rainbow covenant afterward, in addition to significant geologic and paleontological evidence, plus the fact that Peter said in 2 Peter 3:6, and more importantly, Jesus himself verified in Matthew 24:37-39, that the global flood, Noah and the ark, was historical, it's obvious that a worldwide flood best fits the facts and is the scriptural intention. Most people don't realize the immense volume of water currently stored within ocean basins and large water bodies covering 3/4 of the globe would bury Earth's entire surface below nearly 2 miles of liquid if it was a shapeless ball. Since Earth's topography was likely much smoother before substantial post-flood mountain uplifting and ocean basin sinking, first described in Psalm 104:6-8, and confirmed by modern scientific research, there was plenty of water to deluge our planet. Interestingly, geologists calculate that Earth's mantle still contains within its mineral structure enough water to completely fill the oceans at least 10 times. Evidence of this still existing subterranean water source is seen from venting volcanoes, whose exhaust is 70% steamy water. Further support is derived from an exciting 2008 discovery that shocked evolutionists when a huge chamber was identified containing mineral-rich, pressurized, 752-degree Fahrenheit hot water located 2 miles under and still spouting water through the Atlantic Ocean floor. Monumental underground artesian aquifers, like the 8 statewide Ogallala shown on this slide, may have also helped provide a water source for flooding this planet, especially since its still strong hydraulic pressure would have been more substantial in the past. Despite these facts, evolutionists incredibly still advance the idea that erosional features on Mars were caused by floodwater, which doesn't exist on that planet, while they doubt the reality of a worldwide flood on Earth, where a massive volume of liquid does exist. On a related note, there has been much debate whether non-human life existed on Mars or not, but the answer to this question is not nearly as important as evolutionists would like us to believe. Even granting the monstrous non-proven assumptions that life did exist on Mars, and life seeds from this or any other planet were sown on Earth, does not ease the dilemma for evolutionists, since they still would need to satisfactorily explain how matter ultimately originated on Mars without God, and then how so-called life seeds evolved into humans on Earth. Neither scenario is answerable according to evolutionary theory, so their problem only multiplies when they declare life on our planet came from Mars. In reality, whether the creator who loves diversity chose to place life on other planets or not makes no difference in respect to the creation versus evolution debate. In any case, if a worldwide flood really occurred, as a full force of evidence strongly suggests, then our case for the Bible's historical accuracy is bolstered, and Earth is not billions of years old, as evolutionists believe.